There's a lot going on. What's at the top of your list of things that we should all be paying attention to?
Oh man, I'll tell you, the list kind of is a little bit Groundhog's Day like, right? It keeps
Mhm.
coming back. Healthcare, while we have another temporary reprieve, the zombie bill has seemed to lay back down for a while. We're still watching and hearing there are some other ways they can bring back reconciliation, so they can still take this up with 50 votes. So next week, while we have it looks like a budget bill in front of us on the House floor, this is one of the possibilities. There's others, so we got to keep vigilant. Every time we think we've put it down once and for all, it bounces back up. So that's something we're watching really closely. And then today, the House Republicans are meeting off-site to talk about tax reform, and supposedly in a half a day they're going to figure that out. And given that it's been 9 months trying to figure out health care and 7 years before that, and they still haven't figured it out, I don't know if a half a day will quite get them to tax reform. But they're talking about lots of things. We've seen some of the stories out there. But in order to get the kind of money they want to lower taxes for millionaires and billionaires and wealthy corporations, they're going to have to go after a bunch of the deductions I think that real people use, and they're going to be given a bait and switch. They might get one part that looks like they're going to save money on their taxes for the middle class, but in reality, by the time they pay all the other things up, they probably will be losing ground. And ultimately, if you don't have revenue, you're going to cut things like Social Security and Medicare and things that real people need. So that's something that I think today especially will spike in conversation. There's just a whole lot going on from last week, that weekend, Donald Trump and his NFL fixation to everything else. Tom, it's another interesting week in Washington.
Is there any? I'm looking at Puerto Rico. This is a state that is the size of or larger than I think about 20 of our states. I mean,
Well, 3.5 million people.
Yeah, 3.5 million people. That's substantial. And they're U.S. passport holders. They're American citizens. And Donald Trump's comment is it's on an island out in a very big ocean. Hillary Clinton explicitly came out a couple of days ago and said send the USS Comfort there, which is a hospital, Navy supplies, a Navy hospital ship, specifically for these kinds of disasters. 2 days later, the Trump administration said, okay, we'll start provisioning her. It's going to still take a week to get the ship down there. But is there any conversation in Congress about doing something about this?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, the Democrats have made a high priority of this. We spent most of our caucus this week talking about this. I mean, 3.5 million people. There's 1,000 people right now just at the airport, kind of living at the airport, and they've had a heat wave. They've been in the mid-90s, and without any electricity whatsoever, hospitals, you're having standing water that's going to breed mosquitoes. I mean, it's a crisis. These are American citizens, and Donald Trump tweeted way more about the NFL than he has Puerto Rico, and now he's kind of acting like he recognizes this big ocean, this island. But let's also not forget the U.S. Virgin Islands, right? They also were hit extremely hard by the last wave of hurricanes, and they're in a crisis. And again, this is a president who it just maybe happens to be that most of the people who live in these areas don't have the same color of skin as Donald Trump. But boy, when you add up all of the statements and actions of this president, it sure does look like certain people get favor by this president and certain don't. And so we're trying to figure out how to raise and elevate the issue of we need to get to Puerto Rico now. And, people's literally their lives are at risk with us not doing anything.
Right. But also, even though they're citizens, just like here in Washington, D.C., they do not have the ability to vote for president. I mean, we can here in D.C., but they can't. They can vote in the primary.
In Congress.
Right, and their delegates to Congress, like Eleanor Holmes Norton, can be there but can't vote, and so maybe just Trump doesn't care about them politically. There was an interesting piece over at The Intercept today about how this is the golden opportunity for Puerto Rico to privatize their power system. That the vultures, that the corporate electric power companies are just swooping down, and there's even an argument that the island has been procrastinating on improving their systems so that this privatization could happen. Apparently, they've corrupted some public officials. Do you know anything about this?
Well, we saw the original tweet, right, on Puerto Rico from the president, and since
Right.
that seems to be his official discourse, I have to refer to tweets. I never thought I'd be doing this in my life, but and he said he was talking about how much they owed the banks, and that was his focus, not on the
Mhm.
people and the conditions there. So many of us are saying if this might be the perfect opportunity as we talk about needing infrastructure dollars across the country, this is a place that we could help to rebuild that. But I had heard a figure of up to I think something like $85 billion might be the cost in needing to repair some of the damage that's been done there, which is a huge amount. And clearly, we've got to do more, and they will try to. I mean, if we know the infrastructure package that Donald Trump finally put out there, different than what he campaigned on, was 80% selling off to private interests, I could totally see him trying to go that route as opposed to the route that we need to go.
Yeah, yeah. This is a disaster.